So, determinants of successful aerobic endurance performance. So, the primary factors in order of importance are VO2 max, lactate threshold, and economy of effort. We've already talked about VO2 max, which basically measures your ability to attain a high intensity. And lactate threshold, which gives us some better information because it gives us your ability to maintain a high intensity, which is more important for sport performance than simply attaining a high intensity. So VO2 max gives us some information. It doesn't give us all of the information. So let me give you an example. Let's say we had two individuals, A and B. Okay, A had a VO2 max of 50 mLs per kg per minute. B has a VO2 max of 60. Okay. Lactate threshold. A's lactate threshold is 80% of their VO2 max, and B is 60%. Okay. If we were to multiply 50 times 0.8, we would come up with 40. Okay, and what that means is this individual reaches lactate threshold at 40 ml per kg per minute. If we look at B, we multiply 6 times 0.6, because 0.6 is 60%, we would end up with 36 mLs per kg per minute. So what you can see here is that although B has a higher VO2 max, because A has such a high lactate threshold, A is going to be able to maintain a higher intensity for a prolonged period of time. So you can see how VO2 max doesn't give us all the information. Lactate threshold is actually a better piece of information. The third determinant of performance, which we haven't talked about yet, is economy of effort. Another word for this is efficiency. And efficiency is basically the energy required for a given submaximal intensity. So how much energy is required to perform a certain amount of work? We'll talk about that on the next slide, but I also wanted to mention there are other determinants of aerobic endurance performance that are not as powerful, but certainly do have an effect on performance. That would be glycogen stores and psychological aspects. All right, so again, we're going to focus on this part. They both have a VO2 max of 65, a lactate threshold of 77. Okay, 65 times 0.77 equals 50. Okay, so they reach their lactate threshold at 50. Okay, so if we come down and we look at A, A reaches lactate threshold when he or she's running 9 miles an hour. If we look at B to see where it crosses, B hits lactate threshold at 9.5 miles an hour, which means that B is going to be able to maintain a speed of a half a mile an hour faster for a prolonged period of time. So you can see how B has the advantage. Okay. So B can do the same amount of work as A, but expend less energy while they do it. And that's going to allow this individual to run a half a mile an hour faster than the other individual before they reach lactate threshold. So economy of effort is an advantage. And this is something that we see high-level endurance athletes really working on their economy of effort. And this has a lot to do with skill. Okay, people who are more skilled runners tend to have better economy of effort. It also has to do with strength. There's research that shows that endurance athletes who do strength training have better economy of effort, which is counterintuitive because a lot of endurance athletes think they should spend all their time running if they're a runner or cycling if they're a cyclist. They don't realize that you can actually gain some economy of effort if you do some strength training. The other factor that affects economy of effort is flexibility. And actually what has been shown is that people who are less flexible are more economic. So flexibility can actually, too much flexibility can actually be detrimental to efficiency or economy. And so if you look at the highest level endurance runners, they don't tend to be super flexible. It doesn't mean that they're not flexible. It doesn't mean that they can't touch their toes. It just means that they're not super flexible because some stiffness and tightness is lost with too much flexibility. And if your joints are too loose, your joints are going to move too much and you're going to lose some of that efficiency and economy. So skill, strength, and not too much flexibility. Those are the things that are going to help increase economy of effort and increase performance. So it would be another one of the determinants of performance. So again, the three are VO2 max, lactate threshold, and economy of effort.